My stack is not even close to being able to set mine. However, losing pots over and over has worn away the logic and reasoning in my head. I stubbornly call, putting over 1/3 of my stack in the middle. Small blind calls again. We're playing a 3-ways 4-bet pot. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the vlog. Now I know it's been a while since I've uploaded. Recently, I've been living with the consequences of my dating app actions, quite literally. I need to film this before she gets back. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the session at Bellagio, and let's find out how I got into a 3-way 4-bet pot. Let's go. I buy into 2-5 while waiting for a 5-10 seat. I immediately get reminded of the pain of poker as I pick up 0 playable hands in the first hour. At least that gave me time to observe the table and feel situated. I noticed that seats 1 and 2, though young, are players who aren't afraid to battle and be aggressive. Finally, I get a chance to join them in combat. I look down at King-Queen suited on the low jack. For some reason, I got taken over by a mysterious OMC force and decide to limp with the intention of back raising to represent aces or kings, given how card dead I've been. However, hijack and small blind both limp behind. Damn it. Thankfully, big blind has something he wanted to juice the pot with as he raised tiny to 15. Time to spring the trap. I plop down a stack of red chips to back 3-bet. Folds around to the big blind and he asks,
60.
Hold on. He looks back at his cards and it's not apparent.
before calling. I reply,
7 deuce any good?
flop was 8-4 deuce rainbow, ace king missed. The opponent checks, and I have a decision to make. I can either bomb 3 streets representing aces or kings, or wait for an ace to bluff, or a queen to value non-believing hands. In the moment, I decide to represent ace-king and check back. Turns another 4, changing essentially nothing. He checks, and I check. River, bink, and ace, improving me to a bluff. He checks for a 3rd time, and let's see what happened.
There you go. There's your 7 deuce. Oh, you got serious all of a sudden. Nice catch. I knew what you had. Wow. Can't even show a bluff.
Bluff.
Oh, wow.
Bluff, it is a bluff.
Yep, the opponent folds 9s face up to my bluff, and I take this one down. I tell him,
Alright, no more. No more limp raising.
alright, time to be on my best behaviors now. Or will I? 20 minutes go by before I get involved again. During this time, the dealer has changed to someone who I will classify as a friendly neighborhood grandma. UTG +2, who's the C1 young guy, opens to 15, and defaults to me. I look down on the button and pocket 9s. Yes, something GTO you flat this something, but I have the 6th preflop nuts. I raise.
15, we're playing for 15.
We're playing for 45.
Okay, let's go up. Price of poker went up. It's only a little more.
The opponent agrees that the price increase is small enough and calls. Flop came 10-9-6 rainbow, improving me from 6th nuts to 3rd nuts. C2 and C2 were talking.
Even this time? Uh-oh. He bluffed you last time. You had 1 pair and he had an airmail, but he thought it was a good spot for the move.
GTO, I think this is a mandatory bet spot. However, I decided to play it tricky and represent missed overcards once again to induce bluffs on the next 2 streets. I quickly check back, hoping to not see a one-liner. Turn had a lot of symbols on it, but thankfully, I had the maximum number of symbols possible as I came 10 of spades, giving me what's almost certainly the best hand, even though it technically downgrades me to the 4th nuts. The opponent bets out for 45 and says,
Don't beg. I want him to call. I want him to fold
Call.
too. Uh-oh. He likes it. Yeah, I know what he has.
What do I have?
I can't tell you right colored jacket.
now, I'm hoping I do see a one-liner or a flush completion. River came a perfect card, 7 of spades, bringing the backdoor flush draw and the one-liner at the same time. The opponent bets out.
How much?
70.
If the opponent has a 10 or even a pair, he might hero call me after the previous bluff. If he has an 8, he's never folding. If he has a flush or a smaller bolt, he might remove 3-bet and give me his entire stack. I announce.
230?
230, is that what I heard?
Yeah.
230.
The opponent is in the tank for a while, and I try to look as uncomfortable as possible. Finally, the opponent tells me,
Eight's good. You can't show the bluff this time.
and returns his cards to the dealer. Playing the flop tricky might have made us 2 extra streets, but we'll never know for sure. As the hand wraps up and we go to the next one, the dealer says,
Straddle time. We're gambling on the Bellagio.
I heard that one somewhere before.
Straddle time.
to the dealer, if you're ever watching this, you had the best energy out of all the dealers I've seen to date. Thanks for a fun experience gambling at the Bellagio. I vote for another 20 minutes before getting involved again when I look down on +2 at ace king off. I've seen a lot of flat callings on the table lately, so I put the 20 to punish callers. However, both the button, who's the C1 kid, and big blind, who's a middle-aged Asian guy, calls. We smashed the flop as came ace deuce with a spade draw, giving me what my friends would call top trips top kicker. Multi-way, I like a small bet to balance out my low equity backdoor bluffs. So when big blind checks me, I bet tiny to 10. I get only 2 callers. Turns to 5 of hearts, and he checks me again. I size up to 50, preparing to bomb with clean river, targeting lower kicker trips. Again, I only get both opponents to call. However, river was less clean than my to-do list, as it came a 4 of hearts, bringing the backdoor flush draw and a one-liner to the 3. Big blind checks, and thought about betting for value, but an OMC sense is telling me something's not right. I check, and button snap checks back. This turned out to be an absolute genius idea.
Wow.
As big blind shows 4s for river underfold, I show the opponent just how lucky he got, and toss my hand into the muck. As the opponent drags into the pot, I say, somewhat to myself,
I think I checked.
Thank you, sir. That was fine. I thought it was good.
soon after this hand, I get called to a new 5-10 must move, and rack up to color out and add all. I sit down at the new 5-10 table with 1k buy. Yes, I know I've been buying to 1.5k cap games with less than the max, but I'm still trying to adjust my mindset, and buying for 1k versus 1.5k feels like 2 completely different tier levels to me. However, I barely had time to get situated before getting involved. In the very first shuffle, a lady on the 2C limps in +1, definitely a recreational player, before I look down at pocket kings on the low jack. Can't get a full double up first hand in, I make it 40, and only the limper calls for a heads up pot. However, the dealer dashes my hopes and dreams by reminding me of the loss of magnetism as the flop came a6 for a rainbow. The opponent checks and check back for pot control. Turns the 9 clubs. She checks again, I bet, and she folds. The table seems slightly more action heavy than the 5-10 played over the WSOP period this summer, but I couldn't pick up a single hand. I watched as ace-king suited ran to aces, queens flop a set on kings, and entire stacks change hands, all while I lose $15 each orbit. Given I'm filming, I couldn't browse my phone to pass time either. As dealers come and go, every hand is starting to look a bit like aces. Finally, when there's an open to 40 from +1, who's a loose player, and the +2 call, I look down on the big blind and queen jack off. GTO, I don't think this is even a defend. However, I thought my hand looks a lot like queens or jacks, and I decide to, quote unquote, cash it on my image, and 3-bet to 200 with about 750 behind. In New Hampshire, queen jacks is my favorite 3-betting hands, cause all the OMCs put me on ace king. Come on, I haven't V-pipped in 3 orbits, just fold please. Nope, +1 tank calls, and +2 snap calls. Damn it, maybe I can flop a pair. I do flop a pair, as the flop came ace-ace-king rainbow. Shoot, I forgot to specify the pair has to not be on the board. However, I do have a gutter, and this war is amazing for my perceived range. A bit on tilt, and not wanting to give up with a gutter that may or may not be live, I bet up for 150, a sizing I will also take with ace-queen, ace-jack, or kings. Please, just fold your pocket pairs. I have trips here obviously. However, +1 puts in a raise to 400, and +2 cold calls. Think I know where all the aces in the deck are. I painfully snap fold. The opponents ended up getting it in on the turn, and +1 shows ace-3 suited, and +2 shows ace-4 suited? They're gonna chop up the 350 I lit on fire. I tried to make a mental note to charge these guys to the max when I make a hand. Making a hand is hard, however. Over the next hour, the only playable hands I got were 2 pocket jiggities, brought to you by Brad Owen, which allowed me to win the small pot and the medium-sized pot. After more painful folding, I looked down on the low jack at Queen Jack again, this time all pretty and suited, as if trying to apologize for hurting my feelings earlier. I take the cute gesture and open to 30. I get the cutoff and the big blind to call. Flop came 9-5-4 with a flush draw, but also 1 club. I think my hand is a pretty good one to barrel, and apply pressure on a variety of runouts where the opponents won't put me on this hand. If I have 9 or an overpair, I play the same way. I bet over 30, and only the cutoff calls. Turns another 9. On this card, I have to check for pot control with a lot of my overpairs, and for my specific hand, I'm giving up. I check, and the opponent checks back. River came with 10 of clubs, still not ideal to barrel. I wave the white flag, and the opponent checks back again. I table 80% of a straight flush, and lose to 6s. I don't think I've won a single hand at Showdown on this 5-10 table yet. I fold for 30 more minutes, and I can feel my mind getting gradually warped by the boredom. I pick up jacks once more, and 3-bet to take down another small pot. Then, on the very next deal, I finally get involved in some real action. The lady opens to 30 on the low jack, and hijack calls. I look down at 9s on the cutoff, make a 120 to go, not really considering how the table will perceive my consecutive 3-bets. Small blind cold calls, and it's back on the lady. She makes it 330. 4 bets from recreational players have no bluffs, and my stack is not even close to being able to set mine. However, losing pots over and over has worn away the logic and reason in my head. I stubbornly call, putting over 1/3 of my stack in the middle. Small blind calls again. We're playing a 3-ways 4-bet pot. On the count of 3, please like the video and sub to the channel for the dealer to put on a 9 one time. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for all the support everyone, but the last one wasn't meant to be. Flop came 8-7-4 with 2 hearts. At this point, I'm 90 bid I'm drawn to 2 outs. Small blind quickly checks, and the lady looks at the board apprehensively. Okay, she almost certainly has kings or queens. A thought suddenly crossed my mind. What if I shove? After double flatting, small blind likely has some suited connectors or suited Broadway, and doubt he's too strong. Still, there's a chance that the small blind could station me with a weak ace, or the lady could claim she's not good enough to fold and call me with second pair. Additionally, she could be trapping me with aces, and I'll be drawing to runner quads. What reason still left within me is now yelling at me to give up and live to fight another day, instead of torching what little money I have left. The lady checks. I want to tap the felt to check back, but the slush of adrenaline starts pouring into my head, and my hand feels like it doesn't want to move. I open my mouth to verbally check, but the only words that came out are
All in.
All in.
Before I even have time to fully process what disaster I brought myself into, I heard the small blind say,
475.
Wait, that's not my stack size. Oh my god, he's snap calling me. The lady looks disgusted and instamucks. I ask the opponent,
What's the time?
but he holds up one and only one finger. I'm not even gonna ask you to summon a 9 with me this time. Time seems to be dilating as I stare blankly into space, thinking how I still won't get to experience cashing out from the Bellagio. But there are 2 more cards left to come out. Maybe there's some magic left. Turn is a 4 of spades. River was seduce of clubs. I missed my last 2 shots at hope. I tip on my hand, telling the opponent,
You're good.
let's hear what happened.
I folded the best hand, don't tell me. Oh gosh.
Should have set pre-flop. I should have set the flop.
You should have. I would have folded.
Heads up, I would have, but he's doing that, to
Bluff.
people.
That was a bluff.
This is like this. Play against 2 people, aces.
Yup, I made the sickest combo bet I've ever done in my entire life, folding on a better hand and getting called by a worse one. I absentmindedly stack up my chips. The guy I just stacked buys in for a yellow bird and asks me for change, and I try to be as polite, cooperative, and helpful as possible, as if seeking some form of absolution. Now I'm up 1k on the day, and finally feeling less tilted. The force of reason has returned to me, and I decided that I will leave in one more orbit, whether I double up or get stacked. But during that orbit, the Bellagio dealers have one last gift for me. There's a straddle this hand. Cutoff opens to 80, and button 3 bets to 200. I look down the small blind, At the prettiest hand I've gotten all day, ace queen suited. The emotional part of me is now whispering to me to fold, so I can lock up a win. But I've been playing emotionally for way too much today, and it's time to finally play right. Furthermore, the 203 bet is small, which could signal weakness. I'll put in a cold 4 bet too.
540.
Raise 540.
Cut off snap folds, and button wastes no time before announcing. Damn it, why didn't I just fold to lock up a win? I put in the 540 that I announced, and had to stop the dealer from thinking I called.
Wait, this is 540.
Be careful with that.
Not so quick.
I asked the opponent.
We sure if I fold? Yeah.
At least now, I won't be tempted to call out of curiosity. I collect my thoughts, and process the fact that the opponent's range has exactly 0 bluffs, and all of his values beat me. The emotional part of me is now telling me that I could be pushed around if I fold after committing this much in my stack, but I hold on to the thought that I have aces, kings, and ace king in my range. It doesn't take long before I show the opponent my hand and toss it into the muck. Let's hear what happened.
A little behind.
Wow, nice fold. Nice play. Good timing.
I'm not trying to lure him in with
Yeah.
his monster hand that he's gonna like, drop.
If the flop was a queen, you get my stack.
If it's all hearts, you get all my stuff.
Yep.
Indeed, the opponent had me drawing to 12%, and he justified with a classic, "I don't want my aces to get cracked" logic. I narrowly dodged a scenario that could easily have stacked me. After folding for the rest of the orbit, I go to cash out for a profit of 57 from 2-5 and 608 from 5-10. All in all, given how cold I ran and how creative I played, cash out on Yellowbird and more is not something I have a problem with. And that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for a high-stakes session at Encore Boston Harbor.